If you got severance last year, there's a chance your T4 is wrong in a way that costs you $10,000 in tax you don't actually owe, and your accountant might not catch it. This is James. He's 58, managed projects at a manufacturing plant in Hamilton for 22 years, and started there in 1984. Last fall, the company restructured. James was given a $44,000 severance package and told it was all on his T4. He filed his taxes the way he always does, and the bill made no sense, so he booked an appointment with an accountant. The accountant looked at the T4 for less than a minute and asked one question: why is your severance showing up in two different places? Severance has its own boxes on the T4, box 66 for the eligible portion, box 67 for the non-eligible portion. It does not go in box 14, which is for regular employment income, the wages you actually worked for. But James's employer had made a mistake the CRA sees often. The $44,000 severance was correctly in box 67, but also included in box 14 as employment income. The CRA reads both boxes independently. The result? James's taxable income looked $44,000 higher than it actually was. At his Ontario marginal rate of roughly 43%, that's $19,000 in phantom tax, paid to a bill James didn't owe. That alone would have been the entire story. Get an amended T4, refile, save $19,000. Except James's accountant wasn't done. She asked another question. How long did you work there? 22 years, James said. Started in 1984. And that's when she realized James was about to leave another $10,000 on the table, on top of the duplicate reporting fix. There's a rule in the Income Tax Act that almost nobody who isn't a tax professional has heard of. For years of employment before January 1st, 1996, you can transfer $2,000 per year of that pre-1996 service directly into your RRSP, over and above your regular contribution room, tax-free in the year you receive the severance. The CRA calls this the eligible retiring allowance. James worked there from 1984 to 2006. That's 12 years of pre-1996 service. At $2,000 per year, $24,000 of his severance could go directly into his RRSP without using a single dollar of his regular contribution room. The remaining $20,000 stays taxable, but the $24,000 disappears from this year's income and grows sheltered until he retires. At his Ontario marginal rate of roughly 43%, that saves him roughly $10,418 this year alone. When he eventually withdraws it in retirement, his rate will likely be much lower than 43%. But this rule has two traps. The transfer must happen within 60 days of the end of the year, same deadline as a regular RRSP contribution. Miss it, and the eligible portion becomes fully taxable. And the transfer must go directly from the employer to the RRSP. Deposit the check first, and withholding tax kicks in at 30%. The special over and above benefit is gone. James's accountant moved fast. The employer issued an amended T4 with the duplicate box 14 amount removed. The $24,000 eligible portion was wired directly into James's RRSP, inside the 60-day window. The remaining $20,000 was taxed normally. Total tax bill, roughly $8,700 instead of nearly $28,000. If you received severance in the last year, 3 things to do this week. Pull up your T4 in My Account and check whether the severance in box 66 or 67 also appears in box 14. If it does, call payroll and ask for an amended T4 before you file. Count your years of service before January 1st, 1996, and multiply by $2,000. That's the maximum you can transfer to your RRSP without using contribution room, but only if you act before the 60-day window closes. And if you're currently negotiating severance, ask your employer to wire the eligible portion directly to your RRSP before the check is cut. The form number is T2151. Severance is money you don't expect, don't plan for, and most people receive only once or twice in a working life, which is exactly why the rules catch so many off guard. James saved $10,000 he was about to overpay, and another $24,000 sheltered for retirement because his accountant asked one question about a T4 that looked perfectly normal.